Giving a quick shout out to fellow YouTubers, the Hodge Twins. You can check their channel out at Conservative Twins. Yeah! I just bought one of their t-shirts from their merch, and I'm telling you, I love it. Unmasked, unmuzzled, unvaccinated, unafraid. Oh, baby, get yours today. So I'm asking the same question that many of you are right now. Where has all the ammo gone? Now let's get this straight. We already know the answer to this. No matter what, even the so-called proponents of our Second Amendment rights, the CEOs of gun manufacturing and ammunition manufacturing are telling us that it's not a conspiracy, it's not the government, it's just that there's so many new gun owners, we can't keep up. I have a little phrase for that. Many of you know what that phrase is. Shall we say it together, class? Bullhawk.
8-9 million new gun owners. Okay. We've also seen numbers about 1 million plus new hunters. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I didn't even count for the hunters.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't even count for the hunters.
Now, there was already 50 million in the system.
John Nosler, president and CEO of Nosler Ammunition, giving us the party line that basically, if you have done any type of YouTube search on this, whether it's the talking heads at the NRA or the president CEO of how one guy got to be the president CEO of 4 of our major ammunitions manufacturing in this country, including Federal and Remington. I was a kid in upstate New York. We lived about 45 minutes from the Remington Arms factory up in Ilion, New York, and I can remember as a kid going there with my dad. He would buy guns there. We would buy ammunition there. The very first weapon that I purchased for myself when I was of legal age was a Remington 20-gauge shotgun. Bought a Remington 16-gauge shotgun. How one man now controls 4 of the nation's largest ammunitions. Now, I don't know him. He may be a good guy, but he strikes me as your typical middle-of-the-road politician, just like John Nosler. So what's your suggestion there, John? You want people to stop buying guns? I was reading up on this, and it's interesting that they were calling 4 years of Donald Trump the Trump slump. This was supposedly the inside dirt from the gun manufacturers and the ammunition manufacturing across the board, that why it was under Donald Trump they had to lay people off. Really. Had some of the biggest military buildup under Donald Trump, but you had to lay people off. Okay. Why do I not believe that? But we'll go with that for sake of the narrative. And because people were relaxed and they felt that their Second Amendment rights were being protected, what the manufacturers are admitting is they got slack. They slowed up production. They claimed that the stores had lots of stuff in stock. And no, there has been a problem since the Obama years. We know that one Barackmus Obadamus was actually buying up ammunition in absolute record-setting numbers. See, the liberals have figured out they've got this problem with our Second Amendment rights. It's called the Second Amendment. It's called the Constitution. Kind of gets in their way from gun confiscation and the radical gun control they would like to do. But we don't have a constitutional amendment protecting the ammunition that goes in those weapons. So, what they've done is they have instituted bullet control. You know, what's funny is stand-up comedian Chris Rock many years ago said if he was ever an elected official, he would never have gun control, he would have bullet control. Why, he said if every bullet cost $4,000, people would think twice about shooting somebody. In fact, he said 2 guys getting in an altercation with one another, one of them might look at you and say, I'd cap you right now, but I can't waste the bullet. Why do I have this feeling that some psychotic liberal politician heard that and thought, that's a great idea. So this is where we're at. And for the gun industry, the ammunition industry, to not, pardon the pun, shoot straight with us about this and tell us what's actually going on. But we're going to listen to this interview with John Nosler and tell me if he doesn't strike you as not what we would think of somebody that would be, pro Second Amendment, pro America, conservative, very patriotic, and wanting to make sure that every American citizen was able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Tell me if he doesn't sound like the typical middle-of-the-road quasi-politician. So why don't we have ammunition? Well, according to him, it's our fault.
Every single one of our competitors, they're all working their tails off.
Gotcha.
And we are doing our very best. And it just comes down to this. You're a gun owner.
Mm-hmm.
You go shooting. You go into the store. This is, pre-COVID.
Okay.
You bought a box of ammo, right? Got a little scarce, maybe you bought 2. Now when you go in, if you see 3 on the shelf, are you going to buy all 3?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and like every other customer out there. So you have a little bit of the fear, a little bit of the scarcity mentality. I'm going to get as much as I can.
Yeah.
But more importantly, these people, these new shooters, these new hunters, they're actively participating.
Yeah.
I ran out of gas. I had a flat tire. I didn't have enough money for cab fare. My tux didn't come back from the cleaners. An old friend came in from out of town. Someone stole my car. There was an earthquake. A terrible flood. Locust. It wasn't my fault, I swear to God.
So let me get this straight. They can't keep up with all of the new gun owners out there who now want to buy, ammunition for their weapons. And so his suggestion is basically stop buying guns and apparently stop buying ammunition. Just stop. Well, how dare you stock up? The reason people are binge buying is because when they get somewhere and there is a couple of boxes or 3 boxes, finally, they grab it because they don't know when the next shipment is coming. I mean, the ammunition aisles in sporting goods stores right now looks like a supermarket in North Korea. There's just not, the shelves are empty. And depending on which version of what he's saying you want to buy into, on the one hand, if this really is all these people who have now bought guns, you didn't see this trend coming, you didn't prepare for it, I guess if your name wasn't on the door, you wouldn't get to be CEO very long, would you? And by the way, when all of our ammunitions manufacturers in this country collectively can't keep up, Houston, we have a problem. First of all, we're being lied to on an incredible scale. But really, you had no foresight like a year ago when people were taking to the streets, looting and burning cities to the ground, and this whole groundswell among BLM and activists began of defund the police. That didn't clue you, forgive me, here comes another pun. That didn't trigger you that people were going to start feeling scared, uncomfortable, uneasy, and might run out and get themselves a weapon while it was still legal. When the election was being contested, and once we finally got into January and it was very obvious where this was all going to settle, and conservatives by and large are already a little bit naturally and rightfully so apprehensive that, the incoming Biden administration was not going to be necessarily Second Amendment friendly. It didn't dawn on you there would be a rush to purchase weapons and to purchase ammunition. You weren't ready for that. You weren't prepared for that. at the bare minimum, that makes you grossly incompetent at your job, and you shouldn't have that job anymore. But the fact that the industry as a whole, you are all caught flat-footed on this, why do I have a hard time believing that you're all reading from the same talking points and you're not telling us the whole truth? But then, of course, obviously, you're allocating.
We've done, I think, a really good job as a company taking care of our independent dealers, and we allocate our product.
Gotcha.
So someone puts in an order. Hey, some of these orders are just crazy, okay? But we're allocating and we're making sure everybody's getting something, because we got to take care of all these dealers to keep them in business,
Gotcha.
right? If they have nothing to sell, they have bills to pay.
Yeah.
So we're trying to take care of everybody as best we can. We still have international business.
Okay, he said two things in that answer that really ought to be troubling. In other words, they're not fulfilling full orders. Well, we're giving everybody a little bit of something. Okay, so you just proved a point I made earlier. Because you're giving limited supply, when the local gun dealer has 10 boxes of 22 shells sitting there, or 10 boxes of 9mm, or 15 boxes of 357, owners are coming in there, they're seeing that, and they're buying 5 or all 10 of those boxes at a time because they don't know when the next shipment is coming, and you've just said, we're kind of just spreading it out and we're not fulfilling full orders because some guys are just ordering too much. Really? But you said something else in that answer that was really troubling. International orders? Whatever happened to America First? International orders? Who are you selling to abroad? Because after all, most European countries have stricter gun control laws than even places like New York City and Chicago. So who are you selling to over there? You selling to their governments? You selling to our military, which is deployed internationally? Is that one of the ways you carefully craft your answer of, no, we're not selling it all to the military and to the government? Why, some of our orders are international. International in that our troops deployed? Are you selling to other nations' police departments? Don't those nations have their own ammunition manufacturing that they can buy from? And even if they didn't, okay, that's on them. What happened to America First? And again, I'll get back to those international sales because, after all, remember, this is our fault, but it certainly is not their fault. It is not the gun manufacturer's fault. No, because this is not the government. This is the consumer.
There's a lot of rumors out there like, well, the government's taking this, or it's all going to military law. Well, no. This is a consumer issue.
Wow. Talk about excuses. So, Collian decides to get into, well, you know what? I'm glad I had this talk with you because I'm finding some things out, and I guess I was wrong. No, you were right, and he's about to Freudian give himself away. Listen carefully.
So that's probably where I kind of got a little wrong. I mean, I didn't say it was all going to the government, but I figured that was like a big part of the squeeze.
Well, it is a part. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It is a part.
Did you hear it? It's kind of the government. It's not all the government, but it's kind of the government. But it's not all the government. It's you. It's the consumer. You're buying too much. There's too many of you. So then he's going to clarify his answer and lay it out that, well, yeah, we do sell to the government, but nowhere near what you think we do.
But, when I hear and I read some of this stuff online, I'm like, whoa, it's not that much.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's not to the point that it'd take our brand and it'd be like, well, only 20% is going out to the commercial side. No, it's not that. That's not the case.
Notice he never qualifies the statement. He never tells you what the percentage that rolls off that assembly line is going to the government and is going to the public sector. Nothing. doesn't say, he kind of says, this idea that, we're only sending out 20% to the retailers. That's not true. Okay, is it not true higher or lower? He doesn't qualify that either. Are they only sending out 5%? Because that's kind of what it's looking like when you go in stores and there's literally no ammunition. Is it 50%? Are you doing a 50-50 split? Well, 50% that rolls off is going to the military, going to the government, and is even going to the military. Remember, Barack Obama started this buying up ammunition. In fact, it was our current VP, Camilla thinks she's a hottie Harris, who when she was candidate Harris, she made it really clear that there were ways around the Second Amendment. She talked about really going after the gun dealers and, just nailing them on any little infraction that they could pull their license and keep them from selling. And she also talked about we can buy up the ammunition. If there's nothing to put in the weapons, then there's nothing that those weapons can do to create mass shooting. Again, saying that the gun is responsible for the crime, the violence. When I was a kid, it was kind of like, the liberal teacher telling me, guns cause crime. I told her that my pencil failed my test. It's the same stupid logic, which a lack of logic. It's not actually thinking it really through. So, being suspicious that the government is buying this up because we're getting a repeat of the Obama administration under Joe Obama, because we know that Barack Obama right now really is the shadow president, working through the doddering, dementia-laden Joe Biden, and Camilla thinks she's a hottie Harris. Come on. This is all too perfect. We had nothing but mass shootings and violence when Barack Obama was president, and shoot Shazam, Batman. As soon as Joe Biden is sworn in, we start having mass shootings around the country again. Talk about deja vu, history repeating itself. And again, I look at the NRA, I look at you gun manufacturers, and I ask the obvious question. You didn't see any of this coming. You weren't prepared for any of this. Then you're all grotesquely incompetent. But the fact that all of you collectively can't keep up, there's a problem. You are selling to the government, having your stockpiles taken by the government. You can make all the videos on YouTube denying it, and even, I forget which one I watched today, trying to do a funny on April Fool's Day that, no, we're not really making ammunition anymore. We're just making T-shirts with our name on it. And then, again, scolding us. We are making it. You got to be patient. It's going to take a while to catch up. So even during the, quote, slump, you still weren't producing and storing and stockpiling, getting ready. Because if that's the case, then the problem is if we ever really do get attacked again, if we ever really are rushed into war in an event similar to what happened at Pearl Harbor, we're not ready. You can't get us ready. You've had at least a year of knowing that there was going to be a surge in gun sales, especially when defund the police became such a huge mantra. In fact, the highest demographic of gun sales is actually going to people who identify as Democrat. And by the way, let me just pause here. This isn't exactly what I'm dealing with, but I'm going to just go ahead and throw this in here today. Have some of you considered And we've talked about this before. Liberals are the real racists, and we've gone through the history of the KKK and real racism in this country and which side of the aisle it actually came from and which side of the aisle actually set slaves free and actually made sure that there were enough votes to get civil rights through, and that was the Republican side of the aisle. But I want some of you to think about it this way. Has it ever dawned on you that all of these so-called flaming liberals that join BLM and have all the correct talking points, that at the end of the day, they are really the racists to the point they want you dead and exterminated? Oh, Pastor Marty, I can't believe you said that. Really? Because who is it that's really driving the narrative of defund the police? You know, Charles Barkley asked a great question. If we defund the police, who are black people supposed to call when there's crime going on in their neighborhoods? Ghostbusters? Defund the police is a stupid idea. Portland, they defund the police, and now they can't understand why violent crime is up. So what's their solution? Gun control. Gun control. The guys doing the killing on the streets, you do know they don't go to your local gun dealer. That's not how they buy their weapons. You know that, right? Wouldn't matter if there was a national background check, which, by the way, we do have to go through a background check when we make a purchase. So this lie and canard that there's... But the very people that are screaming, the white liberals who want to be over their white privilege and their racial prejudice, and they're going to show you how woke they are, and they're demanding defund the police. So what's going to happen? Black on black violent crime is going through the roof. And the real powers that be, the real oligarch, the real whatever you want to call it, the establishment ruling class, sit back and they smile because the undesirables they want gone are just exterminating themselves now. And some of you are marching in the streets to make it happen. And yet, you so-called defenders and protectors of our Second Amendment rights didn't see any of this coming. You had to wait for some guys like me on YouTube to point this out to you. Well, listen, Captain Obvious. You really are awful at your jobs. None of you should still have them unless you're all part of, hey, you're making money, you're employees. I don't disagree or discount the video footage where these ammunition places are working round the clock. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that literal merchandise is being put in boxes and then in cases and then in the back of semi-tractor trailers. My question is, where's it going? Don't tell me it's going to the store. We're taking care of the store. No, you're not. It's not going to the stores. I've talked to too many gun dealers that have literally nothing to sell. So again, where has all the ammo gone? We know where it's gone, and we know who's taking it, and that ought to concern you. Well, that's it for today's rant. Hey, make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Smack the bell to get notifications of my next rant. And by the way, if you're patient and you really dig and dig deep, you'll have to go about 4 pages in on a Google search. You can find some online ammunition sales. They do have some things in stock, and you can even find still some private companies that will fulfill specific orders. You're going to pay for it, but it is still available.